Brandon Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creatives like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. What is Dreams and Drive? So as you know, we are launching a community for creatives, people who want to be lifestyle entrepreneurs, people who just want to kind of get out of the funk of not living their life the way they want to live it, right? People who want to start following their passion, people who are tired of their day-to-day boringness and want to start spicing up their life and putting their dreams in drive. This community is for people, and we want to do these interviews on the podcast to really talk to other people who are in the same position and talk to them about how they're stepping out and putting their own dreams in drive. So David is going to be our test interview for the day, and we're going to talk to him about his life, his career, where he wants to go, everything, and he, see what he has to offer for everyone. All right, David, so let's get it started. Can you tell our dream drivers a little bit about who you are?
Well, like we said before, my name is David Michael Thompson, or I go by Davy Jones, David Michael Jones on the stage. Mm-hmm. I'm a recent college grad, 22 years old, a native of Orange, New Jersey.
Stand up.
Guyanese American, pretty regular
GT
guy.
to the bone.
And I just have a lot of dreams and a lot of things I want to accomplish. I want to be a modern day Renaissance man, but I know my primary focus, or the primary way I'm going to get there, is through music. I feel, for the most part, like through being a recording artist / producer. I feel like that's going to be the route that I take to get to where I really want to be at the end of the day.
Can I ask you a question? What do you mean by you want to be a modern day Renaissance man? Describe that for our listeners.
Well, I really I like to dabble. And not even dabble at this point. I like to really delve into a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. I want to do music. I have a very strong interest in film, marketing, public relations, philanthropy, even a little bit of, I'm not necessarily a politician, but I do want to do my part to, improve communities that I do belong to, and then just make life a lot better for a lot of people around me. Like, I'm a pretty altruistic, selfless guy. So I just want to do my part to help as many people as I can. I feel like music is a very good tool to help me,
do that.
Help people. Yeah.
All right, so let's kind of let's take it back for a little bit. Close your eyes. Are you closing your eyes?
Eyes closed.
I want you to tell me, who was David Michael Thompson as a little boy? When you were younger, what were those things that really, really, you could always be caught doing? Keep your eyes closed as you tell it to me.
My eyes are closed, I promise. Okay. As a kid, like, people who really know me, they know that I was always rapping. Like, I was always freestyling or like rapping one of my favorite songs or whatever. I remember people used to like ask me to stop rapping. They'd be like, not because it was bad, but just because I was rapping all the goddamn time. And then I was one of those people, somebody would say something to me and I'll find a song that related to it. It was somebody would be like, oh, I'm about to have some peaches for lunch. I'd be like, peaches and cream. I was always tying anything back to music. I just really love music. And if it wasn't music, it was basketball. I feel kind of bad that I'm such a stereotypical African American boy. Sports and entertainment was something that was just always pretty near and dear to my heart. But as a kid, I was just trying to figure it out. I was pretty rebellious as a kid, just because I felt like a lot of adults were just always in my way.
In your way? Yeah, but you was a little picnic,
I really firmly believe the person that I am now, I feel like I've been this person for the last
people were just in your way of allowing you to shine.
Yeah, I didn't really need anybody restricting my movements, and there was just so many restrictions. As a child, obviously you need restrictions, but it just really bothered me because I didn't understand a lot of them, and I was the kind of child I was going to ask you to explain why something was a certain way. So a lot of adults, why are you challenging authority? It's I'm not challenging your authority. I just want to understand. Can you please grant me some clarity? But they weren't really for that. So I spent a lot of time getting in trouble just for a lot of, dumb shit as a kid.
Stuff.
Yeah, dumb shit.
All right. Well, okay. So how did you know? So you said you always loved rapping, you love basketball. Kind of walk me through, I guess, what was your first experience that you had where you're like, damn, I'm good at this? Why is it so funny?
Because I'm thinking about like the first rap I ever made, and like I mean, in retrospect, like it probably wasn't anything, but for me, like from that moment, I was like, yo, I know I could do this. I was like 7, and I was on a blacktop at like summer camp, and I just started like saying phrases and rhyming, but then like it would start off with like one line, and then I come up with another line. I just try to keep it going, and that was like my first like really like experience with like making my own rap. It was so corny, but to me it was like everything. And then for me, like it just like came so naturally, like away from rap. Like I remember I used to write a lot of girls like poems and stuff like that, like all throughout like middle school. So I just was always playing with words and working with words. So I feel like I'm the kind of person, like I'm quick to call something corny, or I'm like very honest about if something was corny. So I never felt like the stuff I was doing was corny. Like I remember I was in 7th grade and I wrote a rap, and then I gave it to these 2 girls to read or whatever. And it garnered so much attention that I ended up getting in trouble because of the rap. Like the rap became so popular, but the lyrics were so explicit for a 12-year-old. So it ended up in the hands of like, you know, a couple of teachers and my vice principal. And then I remember my vice principal, he brought me down to the office, and he was just like, yo, I can't front. This is kind of hot, but you just got to find a better way to express yourself, young man. Like, you know, and it wasn't bad. It just was very racy for a 12-year-old to be spitting.
Do you remember anything? Cause you spit a line for us or something.
Yeah, I remember that whole verse, because there's some people who some of my closest homeboys, they think I should still like do something with that song. It's whatever, but I'll spit a couple bars from you.
Come on, let me count you in. 5, 6, 7, 8.
They think that I'm a young nigga, but I know well. Take my girl and do that freaky shit like R. Kel. Back in the old days, I was nasty and sick. All I thought about was putting my dick between her drumsticks. Knick-knack, paddywhack, give a chick a bone. We could fuck a little bit, but I ain't taking you home. But see, now I change. I give the chick the change. Ex any girl that knew me years ago, they say I ain't the same. Yeah, that's a little.
You was writing this in 7th grade.
Yeah,
what kind of 7th grade were you in? Oh Jesus! That's explicit. That's
I think
PG
everybody where I'm
18.
from kind of grew up kind of fast. Like it's unfortunate, but everybody in Essex County was trying to get it in well before their time. But I remember it was a girl that I saw in detention. I had detention in 7th grade. Felt like being late or something. Little Puerto Rican joint, and I was just like, oh, I just was inspired. I just I wrote that about her. Yeah. I came home, I made the beat and everything. I was ready to go. I could still make that beat again if I needed to, but like,
so that's very vivid in your mind.
Yeah, a lot of things. I think for some reason, like middle school was like a very like defining like moment of like who I ended up becoming. It's weird for like it's people like, you know, they're like, oh, like if that's like the most maturation that you did between 11 and 13, you're kind of in trouble. But it wasn't necessarily maturing. Like I've matured since then, but it was such a like I was such an impressionable person at that time, and it had a lot to like do with who I ended up becoming. Like middle school was very like important for me.
I think for all of us, middle school is kind of where you start learning who you are, who you want to be, and what's in your way.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so you said something earlier about where you're from. A lot of people were growing up fast. Can you kind of talk to me about your community and what you learned from growing up where you did, and kind of what you didn't learn?
Well, like
you like my questions?
Yeah, definitely. I think okay. This is if this sample interview is anything like the real ones, we're gonna be fine. The podcast is gonna be okay. But
all right.
I just remember like I said, like how I just used to be frustrated with adults who like were kind of in the way. I feel like everybody I was kind of growing up around, I don't know why we were so like, I guess people, what do they call it? They call it like
rebellious.
Not rebellious, but they call
Angsty?
it you know the Caribbean people, they be like, oh, you force right? Like,
you're what?
Like you force right, like you're forcing yourself to be more mature than you are at that, like force right, like you're forced right.
Maybe you Guyanese people say
yeah,
that.
It's definitely a Guyanese
thing. Say that.
But everybody around me, like I remember, like, and when you look back on it, it's like, damn, we were like 11 to 13, but everybody was like scheming on how to get money, how to like get girls, how to have sex. Like everybody was just so focused on trying to be like grown. I don't know where it came from. Like I don't know if we were like had like older brothers that were like, I didn't have any older brothers, but I don't know if they had older brothers that were putting them on game, or like we just watched too much TV, or like we just paying too much attention to adults. But I really felt like, we were walking around like in our heads, we were like little adults. Like we knew what we had to do to get what we wanted, and it just used to be so frustrating when adults used to get in the way, because I feel like without them, we would have been doing us. We would have been getting us easily.
I could definitely relate to that. So let's kind of rewind, because we could talk. I mean, let's fast forward, because we could talk about this stuff for a long time. I kind of want to get to where you are now and what kind of struggles you're facing. So in the beginning of the interview, you talked about how you want to be like this Renaissance man and how you want to really use your music and all your other passions to push you into this lifestyle that you love to have for yourself. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you're facing right now in making that happen?
Well, at the moment, it's funny. Like, we're talking about all this music shit, and like I haven't even put out any music, so that's the funniest part. Like, but I will say, like, honestly, like I said, like, I'm not a liar. Like, I try to be as honest as possible with myself and people around me. And there are a lot of people who are waiting for me and the people in my circle to make music. Like, there are people who are waiting to see what we're gonna do. But yeah, like, I mean, I had a little bit of a situation for like over the past like 4 years. It's kind of actually bad. I've been kind of like in debt for like the last 4 years, just trying to get myself situated, because like I was brave enough to like finance my own dreams, you know? And I feel like I would never feel guilty about being in debt, because at least I had enough courage to bet on myself. There's a lot of people who have dreams.
I like that.
But they're not willing to invest in themselves or finance their own dreams. So shout out to Discover, shout out to MasterCard, shout out to Citibank. Like, y'all are the financiers of my dreams. Like, I need to pay y'all back so y'all stop calling me. Like, but
let's rewind there. So talk us through that. Like, what did you do? How did you finance your dreams? What were some of the things that you did early on that kind of have you where you are now?
Just being very scrappy. Like, I remember the summer where I first started to like buy my musical equipment. Me and my boy Olabisi, like, it was our senior year of high school and we were about to go to college, and we just was like, yo, like, now that we're done with high school, like, let's start doing this music thing. Like, we had recorded a couple of tracks here and there in high school, but it was never like anything too serious. It wasn't anything concentrated or focused. So we're like, all right, let's start doing this. And then one day we were visiting his cousin, Victor. Victor's an amazing drummer. He's out in Boston right now for college, so he's out there doing his thing. But he showed us this program that I'm sitting right in front of, this program right here called Machine. Like, he showed it to us, and we were just like going over our options about what we would use to make music. And then as soon as he showed us like the program, like, I had a moment where I was just like, I know that's for me.
You need one of those.
Yeah, and I feel like I have that moment like quite often in my life. Like, I see a lot of different things, but there's a lot of moments that I've had like growing up where I seen something and I knew it was for me, whether it was like a program like Machine, whether it was a girl, or whether it was just like little different things. I have these moments where I see it and I know like, yo, that's for me. So after that happened, like, I was just, doing stuff that any 18-year-old kid would do. Like, I was working at Macy's. Like, that was my first job. I graduated high school, and I think like the next week I got like an interview at Macy's. So I was like working in the women's shoe department, getting my little money up or whatever. And then like I worked from like June to like August, and then I had enough money to save up for my machine, and I got my machine, and I bought like a little piece of shit MacBook. But it was holding me down. And then like, yo, I remember like when I first we went to Fairleigh Dickinson. I went there for my freshman year, and then my boy, he finished up there or whatever. I remember I got to FDU and I was just making beats every day, every night.
On the same machine?
Actually, this is my second machine. The first machine I had broke, sent it back to the factory. Then I had mixed up machines with one of my friends. Then he broke it, and then I promised him that if the one that he had broke, I would give him his back. So I had to send him his back, and then I had to buy another one. So this is my second machine, or like third machine, and I'm probably gonna end up buying a couple more. Shout out to Native Instruments. Y'all are an amazing company. I swear by y'all.
You gotta get them to sponsor this.
Yo, Native Instruments, I will definitely be sponsored by them sooner or later. I need a Native Instruments endorsement, an Adidas endorsement, and a Patron endorsement, and I'll be a happy camper. Yo, I need
the three ingredients to life.
Basically. But yeah, so from that point, like, I had my little MacBook or whatever. I was making beats, but we weren't recording yet because we didn't have a mic and stuff like that. And that's when I kind of like got a little bit more invested. Like, I went out, bought an interface, bought a mic, bought this, that, and the third. And that was like my first like go around with like being in full debt. But in retrospect, like, that wasn't even really being in debt, because like compared to like the amount that I have now, like, that was pretty light. But it was like at that point I was like, yo, I can't turn back now because I'm spending money on this. Like, I'm spending money, so I'm invested. Like, I can't, like, when you have interest in stuff like that, like, you're doing karate as a kid and you don't really like it no more, you can just tell your parent you don't want to do it no more. But that's your parents' money, so you're not really thinking about it. But for me, it's just like, yo, I poured money into this, so it's like there's no going back now. Like, I'm literally invested. So it's just like, after that, it was just like, yo, I gotta find a way to make this work one way or another. And then you have your days where you're looking at it, it's just like, yo, I might have fucked up. I might not even be good enough to do this. But then you got to shake that off real quick, because you just remind yourself that, nah, you're like in too deep at this point. So you're going to be as good as you got to be.
That's so true. I want to go back to what you said before, because I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with. How do you think people can figure out if they know something's for them? Like, you know how you said you looked at that machine and you said, like, I know it's for me. Do you think there are ways for people to find those epiphanies in their life if it's not coming to them naturally?
Um, I don't know. I think like me and my friend Olabisi and my boy Jeff, I think like one of the things we did a lot in high school, we were just really like really reflective and introspective people. So we spent a lot of like all the time I spent in high school not doing any of my schoolwork. I think I was just learning myself. Like I was spending a lot of time thinking about my thoughts, thinking about my actions, like thinking about who I really was as a person. So I feel like I really got to know me and what made me tick. So I feel like I got to the point where I was just very receptive of things that I needed and I wanted. And I don't know how many people spend that time, just really assessing their true desires and assessing their true wants. So a lot of people might like, be bypassing things that are for them, but like, how could you know? Because you don't really know you. But I feel like I spent a lot of time getting to know myself. So I feel like even to this day, like I trust my instincts. Like I like certain feelings you don't get for no reason. And I always tell myself, or I tell other people, like if you're ignoring your gut feeling, if you're ignoring your instincts, you're low key like ignoring God, like to an extent, And I'm not overly religious or anything like that. I don't want to go down like on a tangent. But I'm just saying, like I feel like I trust that feeling. So when I see certain things, I know because I trust that feeling.
So I like what you said about how you have to really learn yourself, because how do you think you'll ever find what's for you if you don't even know you? Do you have any tips for other people who are kind of lost in learning themselves?
I mean, it's weird because I feel like when I look back at like high school, there were definitely moments like where I was surrounded by friends, but I remember spending a lot of time by myself. Like I remember spending like a lot of time, whether it was like walking, because I didn't go to school in my school district. I actually like finessed the school system. Like I lived in Orange, but I went to West Orange High. So there'd be some days like if I'm not like, or like there'll be some days I'll catch the bus to like the closest like bus stop in West Orange and walk home. So just like on those little walks or whatever, just really, like I said, really reflecting, really just like asking yourself questions about like how do you feel about like what you're doing in this life? How do you feel about like how your day went? Like just replaying certain scenarios that I ended up in, like how could I did that better? Like I felt like I was really, it's interesting. Like if you're an athlete or anything like that, you go over like game tape and you try to figure out how to become a better basketball player or whatever. I feel like I used to sit there and like assess and evaluate my life so I could be more prepared for when the scenarios arise again. So for anybody who really wants to know themselves, just take time out of your day. Like people might look at you and think you're being unproductive because you're not doing anything actively, or to their eye it doesn't look like you're doing anything. But sitting there and just reflecting about your day is a very important tool, and I think people need that time to, I guess, whether it's meditate, reflect, or just ask yourself some real heavy questions. Like you can't be afraid of the truth too. Like you have to really want to like be the best version of yourself, whether it means like eradicating bad behaviors or really like pointing out flaws that you have. You have to be very critical and very honest with yourself.
So why is this whole process so important to this whole dreams and drive concept?
What, learning who you are? I mean, how could you know where you want to end up if you don't know who you are? Like, or how, like, could you, like, you could be out here and you think you're somebody. I was telling my little cousin this, like, earlier today. I was giving him some advice about life, and I was telling him, like, yo, like, you got to realize in life, like, you're not competing with anybody. Like, what you want to do with your life, like, the motivations have to be very internal and very, very about you, because I feel like a lot of external motivations, like, they're not sustainable. Like, it can easily be a source of energy that, like, burns out. It doesn't last for long. So I was telling him, like, yo, imagine if, like, you want a pair of Jordans, but the reason you want those Jordans is because you saw, like, the next guy with them or whatever. Yeah. And you're working so hard to get these Jordans. Imagine how would you feel if you finally got them, and but by the time you got them, Jordans weren't even in style anymore. So you're gonna be pissed off because you were trying to keep up with the next guy, and by the time you got them, that wasn't even the thing anymore. So if you want Jordans for a reason that's very special and dear to you. So when you get them, regardless of the circumstances around you or the Jordans, like, you're still happy that you got your Jordans. So that's how I feel about my life. It's like I used to have moments where I looked at other people. Like, there's a guy from Montclair. He's a really dope rapper. Like, I knew him as a kid. We had a program that we did together. His name's Topaz Jones, and I used to look at him like, yo, damn, like, yo, this nigga Topaz is like getting it. and he's 18 and I'm 18 and I'm not getting it. Or there's Dougie F who's in Orange. He's from Orange, and it's like, yo, this guy Doug is from where I'm from, and he's getting it. Like, why am I not getting it? Like, those moments, like, no lie, like, I feel like when I was in those spaces, like, just looking around and looking at, like, how much I didn't have and how much everybody else around me had, I could have easily lost my mind. Like, I could have easily went crazy.
Yes, I feel you in that one.
So it was just like, I just had to take my eye off of all of that and just focus on running my race, because my scenarios, my circumstances are very unique to me. Nobody will ever be me, and I'll never be anybody else. So it's like, I just have to accept the circumstances that I had and make the best of my situation.
I think that you just hit the nail on the head right there, because I think that's something that everyone listening is probably facing every day, is like comparing yourself to other people and thinking that you have to be them, or thinking you're missing something special because another person has accomplished something. We all have our own timelines, right? And your timeline may be different from my timeline. Her timeline may be different from his timeline, and it's something that's just so important. So I want to say thank you for that.
I mean, there's definitely a quote. It's like, comparison is the robber of all joy. Like, it's just like, yeah, like the moment you start comparing yourself to other people, that's the moment you're going to become unhappy. And they say, like, people who like go on social media and stuff like that, like, it can easily make you depressed, because like, if you're in the crib one night, you just macking, you don't got nothing to do, but you look at your Snapchat and you see, damn, this person's out, that person's out. Like, you can easily become miserable, because it's like, damn, you think that's you have no life, but in reality, people only gonna show you the good, So it's like, you can't get too caught up in that situation like that.
I have a question for you though. Is there ever any time when comparison is good?
Comparison with yourself, like, that's the thing I look at. Like, that's the thing that, like, like I said, like, I feel like internal motivations are very sustainable. Like that. Like, you're feeding yourself with energy from yourself, so it's always going to continue to produce. But if you're trying to get energy from somewhere else, it's going to run out, because that source might go somewhere. But like, for me, like, every now and then, like, me and my boys will have a moment where we like come and sit around and we'll listen to the old songs we used to make, and then like just watch. It's almost like a journal, a diary of songs, and you're just looking at the first stuff you did, the second batch of music you made, the third batch of music you made, and you're like, damn, there's growth here, there's progression here. So if you're going to compare, like, you're comparing with like where you were a year ago to where you are like a year later, just to make sure that there's still progress. You're just always comparing with yourself to make sure that there's never a lack of progress. You don't want to plateau.
No, that's so true. So I have a question for you. What does the whole concept dreams and drive mean to you?
For me personally, like, dreams and drive just means, like, you can't have these desires and goals and be stagnant. Like when I think about dreams and drives, it's one of the things I want to like say for like, I guess, like the promotion. It's like, like nobody has ever driven to anywhere or gotten to any destination with their gear in park. Like, it would be a fucking miracle for somebody to like,
that's true.
Like, who have you ever seen go somewhere? How'd you get there? I don't know. It was in park the whole time. It just happened. Like, every other gear can get you somewhere. Like, so it's like, it's okay if you reverse. It's okay if sometimes you're in neutral rolling down the hill. It's okay if you're driving, if you got all-wheel drive on, if you're in low gear, high gear. But it's just like, just as long as you're not parked, it's better than anything, So that's what I think about when I think about the whole dreams and drive concept. It's just like, I think about, you just got to make sure there's always some kind of movement going on in your life. The moment you become stagnant is the moment that it could easily just all be over.
All right, so here, let me do some quick questions right now. What's your favorite or the best business advice that you've ever received, and something that you've implemented in your own, your own work?
Best business advice, I always remember is very vivid to me. I remember, well, it was around, when was it? Around 2011, and my mother had just recently bought a new car. So I'm with her at the dealership, and then the guy who sold her car, his name was Martin. And we were just talking, chit-chatting. And he was just like, yo, in this life, yo, you can't be afraid to talk. You can't be afraid to open your mouth. And he was like, look at me, man. I'm missing a tooth. Like, I'm missing, like, some of my teeth. But I could still sell cars. You know why? Because I'm not afraid to talk. Like, I'm not embarrassed about it. Like, I'm just like, yo, like, in this life, you're not going to get nothing if you don't ever open your mouth. So I feel like, that's one of the biggest things that I took. It's just, like, being able to articulate ideas and being vocal about what you want, being passionate. You don't always got to be running off at your mouth, but your voice is a very powerful tool. And I think that's why I like the idea of rapping or making music, because you're expressing yourself vocally. It's just like, so just being able to use the power of your voice is just a very important thing for me in terms of business. If you can't share your ideas in a proper way, you can't sell dreams to anybody, you know? A lot of people out here, they're looking for dreams, or they're looking for things to believe in. And if you can articulate those things and help them comprehend and understand, you can do anything.
I like that. David, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Honestly, it's always like, I remember like somebody asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like, it was like an icebreaker for like one of my classes, my senior semester college or whatever, like last semester. I said, like, yo, I don't know why I throw it in there. Like, I always want to be remembered for being like a good husband and a good father. Like, that's something that's very important to me. It's kind of,
you don't hear that a lot now, right?
Or I mean,
you guys heard that. You heard it first.
I mean, it don't even matter if nobody else is saying it. But at the end of the day, yeah, like that's something that I do want to be remembered. Like, when it's all said and done, like, I did it for the love of a woman and to have a family. To be honest,
ladies, let me give you David's number.
Not even. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard it, but there's this Kendrick Lamar song that's called Untitled, and it's a very interesting song. Like, he goes through like, I guess like each verse is like tailored to like an ethnic group and just their perspective on everything. So it's just like so there's a verse about like the Asian person, and then their verse is like geared toward like, you know, spiritual groundness. It's like, yeah, the Asian man said, like, you know, find spiritual groundness, take care of your health. The Native American person, his focus was investing in land, because, you know, they obviously lost all their land to, you know, white men in America. So like but for the African American man, it was like what did the black man say? Do it all for some nookie. Like, that's what the black man said I needed to push me. And I feel like that's so, it resonated with me so much, because I feel like, yeah, like subconsciously everything I do is for like the love of a woman. Like, like, why you want to get money for? Why you want to get fly for? It's just like, I feel like if women didn't exist, like, niggas would be mad lazy. Like niggas could never do anything. Like,
what do they say behind every, like, that cliche quote, behind every man is a strong woman?
Yeah, it's just like, I'm sure the guy who invented fire, like, did it to impress like a shorty. Like,
look how big I can make this flame.
Yeah, so it's just like, yeah. So for me, for my legacy, like, that's like really important, like being a good family man. And then after that, just making sure that I could positively help as many people as possible. Like, the reason I want to be an artist is because, like, I could have took the route to help other people by, you know, being a scientist or being a politician, or there's a lot of different ways to help people. But I feel like everybody, like, when you look at it throughout history, like, there's a kind of like trust that you kind of, people trust you when you're their favorite artist or their favorite athlete. Like, I'm sure, like, you know, everybody wanted to be like Mike, you know, and essentially like Michael Jordan was out here, like, he could have did bad things and told kids to do dumb stuff, but he was out here, you know, telling kids, you know, like, take care of your body, like, focus, work hard, you know, instilling values in children. And like, people, like, they trusted him for whatever reason it is. I've come to notice in life that people tend to trust their favorite athletes and their favorite celebrities a little bit quicker than they'll trust like their local politician. So I always wanted to gain that influence through my art, and then use that influence to do good, because people would trust me, you know, just as long as I'm not doing anything, you know, crazy.
Here, I'm gonna flip the switch on you. Ask yourself a question and answer it.
Ask myself a question and answer it. That's difficult. That's a really good question.
That's
a really good question. If I had to ask myself a question,
something you wish somebody asked you and they never did, something you always want to ask somebody else, maybe you answer it.
Why are you always running around, Dave? Like, why are you always running around?
Hey, let me ask you. Hey, Dave, why are you always running around?
And that's it, because like, when I think about my life over the last 4 years, like, I feel like it was just a constant, or not even the last 2 years, because like I after FD Fairleigh Dickinson, I transferred to William Patterson, and then when that kind of happened, like, my life was like this like North Jersey kind of triangle. Like, I was either in Essex County, Bergen County, or Passaic County at any given time on any day. And I was just kind of always running around. Like, there was never really a point in time where I was just like in one place and very like stationed for like too long of a time. If anything was happening, I was moving. And the answer for that question is just like, I don't know why I'm always running around. I think it's just, I need to live like that. Like, I need to, like, just keep moving. I can't be still. And then I don't necessarily think it's a situation where I'm confusing movement for productivity. I just think I just need to be moving. Like, if I'm in a small room or if I'm in a room, like, people, like, they know, oh, Dave, like, has a tendency to pace, especially if I'm talking to you. Like, I drive people crazy. My mom goes crazy all the time. She's like, why can't you just sit still? Like, why can't you just not move? And I don't know what it is. Like, I just have to keep moving.
Do you think that's your weakness?
I think it's hurt me in the past. I think it's definitely just because you're trying to be in so many places at one time, you're definitely going to miss out on something. And I think that comes to the bigger, or that starts to address the bigger issue. I think there was a point in my life where I had like a fear of missing out, or I always used to say like the cruelest thing that God ever did to me, or the cruelest joke that God ever played on me was that he made me just one person, you know? So I think I just had to, that was one of the hardest things I had to accept, that like, no matter what, like, I'm only going to be one man. And it used to kind of get me in trouble too, because it was like a situation where it's like, yo, damn, I like more than one girl, but I'm only one guy. Like, I want to be in more than one place, but I'm only one guy. So I think that was one of the things I had to work on, was just accepting that that's my limitation, that I'm only one man. And then it kind of, you just start to appreciate stuff when you kind of just accept that. It's just like, all right, I am one person, but, you know, let me be the best one person I can be, because I'm never going to be more than one person.
So part of this whole Dreams and Drive community, one of the things that we want to start doing is we want everyone to come into the group and start defining some goals for themselves, right? Because there's no point of putting your dreams in drive if you're not going to go anywhere. So this is just the beginning, Dave. You know, you're going to be part of this process. And I just want you to kind of, right now, tell me one goal that you really want to accomplish, like, let's say, within the next 3 months. One thing. Don't run around. Uno.
All right, I'll keep it simple for the sake of this. Right now, in the next 3 months, what's that going to be? That's going to be February?
Yeah. The end of February, early March.
Next 3 months, I just want to see this whole movement pick up some traction. The whole Dreams and Drive movement pick up the traction. The No Parking podcast become a success. Great interviews, great stories for people to pick up something from. I just want people to see the benefit from what we're trying to do and how we're trying to help them. So yeah, in the next 3 months, simple, just one goal. Just, I want Dreams and Drives to take off, you know?
And for yourself personally?
Outside of Dreams and Drive, outside of that, in the next 3 months, personally pick up traction with this music. Like, I definitely think there's a lot of people who forgot I even made music. So I think I have to do a lot of things to just remind them about that. Yeah, just start to actually put stuff out. Like, over the last 4 years, I've made music, but I probably only released like 3 songs in like the last 4 years. So it's just upping the amount that I put out, you know? And hopefully I get some positive responses from that. I want to start doing shows, just start releasing content, and just have people buy into who I am as an artist, you know?
And is your goal ever to be like the next Kanye?
That was my first goal, actually.
Oh, okay. I'm a mind reader.
The thing about it, like Kanye West is my two heroes. It's so cliche, because it's like, I feel so bad, like, because, you know, like, people always say like, oh yeah, African Americans, all they care about is like entertainment and sports, but like, if it wasn't for Michael Jordan and Kanye West, like, I really don't know like who I would be as a person. Like, those were some of like my biggest role models, like, just because of like the passion and the drive that they had for what they wanted to do, and just the amount of talent that they had, you know. It just always was just something I was just like, yo, I gotta be like these guys. I want to be like these guys. And like Kanye West, like, I bought College Dropout when I was like 10 years old. Like, that was the first like explicit like adult version album I ever bought, and it definitely changed my life. Like, it coincides with the time I started to get in trouble for being a little bit more rebellious and stuff like that. But it just made me feel some kind of way. Like, obviously I'm 10 in the 5th grade, but like the whole, like, it's sad, but like, you know, the hatred of school and dropping out of school. But it's not, he's never saying that education isn't important, you know? Like, that wasn't his message through the music. It's just about like, yo, this traditional path that people may have followed may have been cool. Like, college obviously is a path that a lot of people, you know, take to get to where they're going. But if it's not for me, it's not for me. I'm not going to force that. and I'm not afraid of like betting on myself. So I think that's where I kind of got that mentality to start betting on myself. It was kind of from Kanye. Like a lot of people told him not to be a rapper. A lot of people told him to just be a producer, and he didn't listen to any of them. He was going to keep fighting until he, did what he did. And look at him, 12 years later, like he's responsible for influencing a whole generation of music. So,
and he's running for president, 2020.
We'll see about that. But yeah, Kanye is definitely one of my biggest inspirations. And at first, like, when you're younger, you kind of want to follow in the exact footsteps of your hero. But as I've gotten older, like I've gotten more defined goals for me. Like I'm not Kanye West. Like I'm David Michael Jones or David Thompson. Like I have things that I want to do. So it's like, yeah, that's my hero, but there's a distinction between who my hero is and who I am now as a person too. I don't want to be exactly like Kanye. There's things that I like and there's things that I would never want to be like, that he does. And I'm not saying he's a bad person. I never met him, but I want to be David Thompson. I don't want to be anybody else,
I know. David, so this is a question from one of our people who signed up for the pre-launch. This comes from Christina Ellis. And she's, she's an entrepreneur. She has her own jewelry company. And one of the things that she thinks that she faces a lot is discouragement. To a lot of people like us, they have their good days, they have their bad days, and sometimes those bad days becomes bad weeks, bad months. How do you, David, overcome discouragement when it comes to your work and your life? Do you have any tips for other creatives who might be in that same position?
As far as discouragement, for me, like one of the biggest things that I started being cognizant of is just what's in my control and what's out of my control. Like there's certain factors that can lead to what somebody would perceive to be a failure that had nothing to do with your performance. It's just exterior factors that are just beyond your control. So I think you just have to, learn how to weather those kind of storms and just be very consistent in your day-to-day approach to how you do things. Like I said, being introspective and reflective is a very important part because you have to identify if there are things that you're doing that's causing the lack of success. But for me, failure isn't like you said, a bad day can be a bad month or a bad like a period of time where it's just rough. I don't consider that failure. Failure is like if you're, by the grace of God, if you're granted another day and you don't want to work anymore, that's when you failed. When you've given up, that's when you failed. Like as long as you have the energy in you to continue to fight, I always advise people to keep fighting. Like whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, if you have that in you to keep fighting, keep fighting. Because I don't know. I don't know if anybody's ever been an athlete or anything like that. I remember I used to run, and it was just like you don't want to run a race and then not like do well in the race, but after the race you still have mad energy to like, oh, I could go for a quick jog. Like how could you still have the energy to run this race after you just lost your race? It's like if you have the energy to go all out, like never stop.
Okay, so I want to end this with another quick fire round. So I'm gonna kind of give you, so Dreams and Drive, we have these themes: parking, reverse, neutral, drive. It's kind of the gear shift when you're about to drive in your car. I'm gonna say the word and I want you to give me the first thing that comes to mind. All right? Let it be a phrase, but don't make it long.
All right.
Parking. Oh, sorry. Park.
Stagnant.
Reverse.
The past.
Neutral.
Vulnerable.
Drive.
Ambition.
All right. Well, thank you, David.
Thank you. This was fun. For our first interview, I feel like this is amazing.
Yeah. So, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Dreams and Drive. This is Raina Campbell, and we have our guest, David Michael Thompson, a.k.a. Pilot Jones, a.k.a. David Jones, Davy Jones, whatever your thing is. We'll put the links in the links in the description. I just want to say thank you so much for being part of this, you guys. And this is just the beginning. This is just a sample of what we hope to do. Give us your feedback. Let us know what works. Let us know what doesn't work. Let us know what you want to see more of. Let us know, what you really want to get out of this, and share. Tell a friend. Put this on your friend's timeline. blast it out to your coworkers, your friends, your family, your auntie, your grandma, everybody. We just really want to get this thing going because we think it's something that our community needs, especially us young people who are trying to make changes in our lives and changes in our community. We really need your help and your support. So thank you so much. Dreams and Drive hashtag. Yeah, thank you guys. We really appreciate it. Dave, you got anything you want to end out with?
Hashtag no parking podcast. Like, I don't know how you forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Hashtag no parking podcast. Hashtag Dreams and Drive. Yes, and we will put our links so you can follow us on social media too. Hey, so if you liked what you heard today, make sure you subscribe to our channel to get more podcasts just like this one. Thank you so much. Remember to hit us up on social at Dreams and Drive, dreamsanddrive.com, hashtag Dreams and Drive. No Parking Podcast. Get ready.